Friday Night Movie podcast because this podcast was demanded by the listeners. One of our most important listeners, my eldest daughter, she made a deal with me this summer, Becky and Lily, and she said to me, "Dad, I will go to camp while I'm in camp, and you have to read this book." And I have a real weak spot when my kids are going off to camp because they go to the same camp we went to as kids. And I said, okay, I'll read a book. Now, I will also add, this is the first book I have finished since before I had children, and definitely the only book since the last Harry Potter book I finished that wasn't a rock musician's biography. And it was a book called Addison Cooke and the Treasure of the Incas. I have that right. I just call it Addison Cooke. It's like Harry Potter, Addison Cooke. And it is by Jonathan Stokes. And then by the magic of Twitter, right? Twitter can be pretty evil, but it can be good sometimes. Jonathan Stokes agreed to be on our show to talk with us today. And we learned not only that other than being an awesome author who I think captures that Amblin Entertainment kind of Goonies spirit in his writing, is himself an expert in storytelling and writing and a screenplay writer. So what could be a better guest for our show than Mr. Jonathan Stokes? Welcome, Jonathan, to the Friday Night Movie family.
Thanks for coming, Jonathan.
Thank you, Cormans, for having me.
And it's I don't usually get to hear authors' voices before we get to talk to them, but because you have this great YouTube channel, which I'm going to mention up front, and then we'll get into detail of later, because you have the Raising the Stakes YouTube channel, where it's great for someone like me, again, doesn't read a lot. Essentially, it's an entire masterclass in screenwriting laid out, or book about screenwriting without having to read anything. I've gotten used to your voice, and you have just like a very calming voice. So I think our listeners are really going to appreciate this.
You're suggesting he does his own audiobooks so you can listen to the rest of the
There's
Addison
a British
Cooke
guy
too.
who reads Addison Cooke, because at one point I wasn't sure if I was going to finish reading it on time. So I got the audiobook and I was jumping back and forth. But then I found out I can read faster than the British guy. And because the Kindle times you. So Jonathan, welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yes, I insisted on a British reader for the audiobook. I really wanted to read it myself, but apparently that just wasn't allowed for some reason. But you can listen.
That's too bad.
Like,
you have a great voice. You have a great voice.
Oh, you guys. You can listen to the audiobook at 1.25 speed or 1.5 speed or 1.75 or 2x when you.
2 is too hard. Believe me, I tried. It's too hard. But it is lovely. So I own 3 copies now, because we have the human copy that my daughter has, and then we have a Kindle version, and I got the Audible version when I was a little worried I wasn't going to make the deadline, but I blazed through it.
I'm so grateful for the Kindle version because it takes so long for anything to arrive here. So should I have ordered it? Read it.
I got to figure, in the book business, Kindle version has to be the best. Is that the best one for an author because there's no overhead on that purchase?
Yes, that is correct. So,
okay.
Yeah. It is supposed to. I think a book you might get 0.01 shekels, but for an audiobook you get like 0.5 shekels.
Well, I hope so. Addison Cooke, he's a treasure hunter. He is wise beyond his years, fearless and optimistic, and he goes on an adventure with his sister. So there's a sibling component.
I like that. Yeah.
Who doesn't love that in our family? Anytime you throw in siblings on an adventure, we're on board. And then he brings a couple of, his ragtag group of friends, meet some friends along the way. Where did you get the idea for and it's very cinematic. It feels like you're watching a movie. Where'd you get the idea? Is this something that was percolating for years, or is this something that grew out of your work in screenwriting and things like that?
Oh man, I haven't thought about this in a little while, but the true answer is really kind of schmarmy Hollywood inside baseball. To give you the he might be a little eye rolly, but
we're into that.
Yeah, we
I
love
will-
smarmy
Give us the
things.
truth.
all right, this is
Yeah.
the true untold story of the origin of Addison
Yes.
Cooke. I don't think I've ever.
Yes.
So normally, like if I was to talk about Addison Cooke, I might be in an elementary school or middle school, and so I'm just not going to tell them the long drawn out Hollywood version of the story. It's not that appealing to them.
Do it.
But since this is your podcast is really oriented around, movie night, so maybe you'll
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, movies for sure. We have,
Oh,
we have
yeah.
guests that give us the inside scoop all the time on how things get made for real.
So I was on a general meeting at Ben Stiller's company eons ago, and they were interested in making a movie along the lines of Monster Squad, where they wanted to sort of channel some 1980s movies that we all grew up on and knew and loved. Anything involving a ragtag group of middle schoolers getting together to solve an adventure that the grown-ups either are too incompetent to solve or are aware of that there is anything that needs to be solved. And they wanted to do something like a Monster Squad, and I came in and pitched something totally different, which was the seed of Addison Cooke, which this was, a 5-page treatment. And they were like, absolutely not. Rejected it, not interested. And then maybe 3 years after that, I was on another summer meeting, this time with Beau Flynn, who we were talking about offline.
Right.
Beau
Right.
Produces pretty much all of the Rocks movies. And at some point in the meeting, he was like, do you have any kids stuff? And so off the cuff, I pitched him Addison Cooke, and he was super into it. So he was like, go develop that. We're going to pitch it to Hollywood studios. So at the time, I was working on, I was writing a movie for Will Smith. And this is a decade ago, I think. And it was a really cool experience. And at the time, Will was looking for something he could do with his whole family, because Willow was on one continent and Jaden was on another continent, and Jada Pinkett Smith was on another continent. There's a really busy family. So is there a movie that they can do as a family? And so I was like, I've got something for you. It's Addison Cooke, and it was designed, the aunt and uncle were going to be
Right.
Will Smith and Jada Pinkett, and Addison and his little sister, that was Jaden and Willow at the time. They were all the right ages. And so I pitched my ever-loving heart out, and long story short, Will Smith's company said, nah. And so it died again. And then I was unable to successfully pitch at a studio. And so Beau Flynn said, why don't you just go write it as a book? And I was like, thanks a lot. This is going to take me a year. So oh gosh, that's only the beginning of the story. This podcast is going to be 9 hours. I'm so sorry.
I mean, we're
Fascinated.
this is really interesting.
Lily loves an origin story.
Also,
so
I
this
have
is
to say,
good.
as someone who loves movies, like, this is a situation where I feel like the book is actually growing out of movies, which is
Very
making
cool.
me so happy. And then also when they do make the movie, because this will make a great
It'll
movie,
come full circle.
I won't, we won't have to have the debate over which one's better, the movie or the book, because they'll be organically tied.
It's very chicken and egg. You're right. They sort of co-evolved. I had wanted to be an author forever. And so I thought, okay, fine, maybe I will try writing this as a book. I wrote it as a treatment, where I wrote the first X number of chapters and then wrote the rest of it just in outline form. And then, oh my gosh, I'm trying to figure out how much of the story I should tell. Okay, why not? Let's go for it.
Go for it. I love it.
I gave the treatment to my Hollywood agents at the time, and I said, can you help me get a New York book agent so we could sell this as a book? And they said, yeah, sure. And nothing happened. And 4 months went by, and I check in periodically, and the book department at that agency was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And finally, I was on another general meeting with a really cool exec, and she was like, oh my God, it's taken them 4 months. I'll get you a book agent tomorrow. Let's do this. So I called up the agency. Screw it. It was UTA. I called up UTA and was like, don't worry about finding me a book agent. Carrie Foster is going to do it for me. And then UTA was like, no, give us 1 week. And so they gave it to one book agent, and that book agent was like, oh my God, I want to sell this tomorrow. So it was like, why did you guys wait 4 months for it? There's so many more elements to the story, but it's so Byzantine and political. But anyway, the point is, yes, that book agent then went and sold it to Penguin Random House, and then I finally got to go and write it. And then years later, I guess, just to put a weird coda on the story, I had no say in the book cover. Because
which I actually really like. I hope you like it. I love it.
I love the art. I love the art in the bookstore. I think they're terrific. I love it. However, I was very careful in writing the book to never identify Addison's ethnicity. I just wanted any kid to be able to read it and just sort of plug themselves into the read. Yeah. So some of the kids have specific ethnicities like Eddie and Raj, but Addison, I just left it vague. But the book cover comes out, and then Addison's totally a white kid, which is fine. But then it came out at exactly the wrong time, and so you got like the Kirkus reviewer called me a racist for like, why has it got to be a white kid? Oh, it's the white kid is the leader of the gang, and every time it says Addison's team walked up the stairs, why is it the white male kid telling everyone what to do? So I was like, why did you guys do that on the cover? Like, you could have been an abstract cover. The book's never specified it is. And in my mind, they were black because I wrote it for Will Smith's family.
Oh, that's really funny.
The good news is that it can be easily recast how you want it, or envisioned it in a movie. So,
but the book cover is, that's got to be quite a punch to the gut to write it with such intention in terms of giving it that latitude for readers, and then having somebody else make a very narrow choice for you.
Yeah, no, it's strange times we live in. So yeah, the editor of the book got Me Too'd. I mean, and so then I had no more editor at Penguin Random House, so it's just been such Addison has been such a product of its time in that regard.
It's the little engine that could, I feel like it's.
Oh yeah, there's three
many
books.
Different hurdles.
There's The Treasure of the Incas, which was a lot of fun. And then
that's the one that
Tomb of Khan, that's up next for me. And then the third one is, hold on, I have my
Addison Cooke and the Ring of Destiny.
Ring of Destiny. That's awesome. And so that's so cool. Okay, so you plugged this is like The Godfather, The Offer. This is that version of the story where that movie that's out from the show that's on the Paramount Network now about like the history of the making of The Godfather, and like all of that's an incredible story. You also have written. I mean, I've done some digging on you. You have scripts that, or at least one, maybe more, that have been on the famed Hollywood blacklist, right? Which are the best scripts circulating Hollywood that people want to make, including Murder in the White House. I live in the Washington, D.C. area, made my career my first part of my career in government. So I'm kind of curious about how where you came to. Are you allowed to talk about that one, or just
yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
I really like this premise.
It's like Clue meets White House
Clue,
Down.
Right, exactly. Or like
that's what I read from the description.
Air Force One type things, but it's also Clue, which is amazing.
Right. I've been fortunate that the Hollywood blacklist it sounds sinister, but it's just every year all the Hollywood execs get together and vote on their favorite unproduced screenplays. And it's a really lovely way to sort of draw attention to scripts that that maybe should get made that haven't been made. So I have the weird distinction of I've had more scripts voted on the blacklist than any other screenwriter, which is sort of like winning the prize for Biggest Loser, because it means I've just a lot of unproduced screenplays out there. But, Murder in the White House comes from my parents watched Masterpiece Theater growing up, and they watched every single British murder mystery.
All the Poirots and all that.
Oh, Poirot, forget about it. Yeah. Sherlock Holmes, the works.
Rumpole of the Bailey.
Oh, that rings a bell, actually.
Rumpole, Leo McCurdy. Our dad loved
our
it.
dad could
I
give your
watched it
parents
with
a
him.
run for their money.
Rumpole of the Bailey.
British.
Loved. He's the old barrister or solicitor. I don't remember which one he is, but
oh, you're right.
He had the cigar.
He's like, curmudgeon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We had the whole series at home on VHS.
Okay. Well, yeah. So I was raised, my father's a Brit and my mother's a loud Jew from Chicago. And I really got both components. And so from my father, I really got the just love of British murder mysteries. I mean, give me a mansion, a rich guy who gets murdered, and then a bunch of guests who are sort of trapped for the night, and I'm on board. And so I guess I thought to myself, like, what's the biggest mansion we could think of? Oh, maybe the White House. Like, okay, who's the most important rich guy we can murder? The president. Like, what stakes could be higher than that? And then when, protocol kicks in, like the president is murdered, everyone in that dining room has to go down into the bunker, and they're locked in because of protocol until we can solve what happened, because one of you did this. So that's how we get them trapped in the mansion for the night. But it's the vice president, it's the first lady, it's the important diplomat. It's just really high stakes people trapped together for, overnight until we can solve who did this mystery. And then more people die along the way. And the killer
That's Shai's favorite movie.
I'm very because it could. I mean, depending on how. I don't know how it goes, but I always say that Washington. First of all, I think Washington and Hollywood are really similar.
Yeah.
But not that I know a lot about Hollywood, but it just strikes me that there's a lot of similarities. But to me, the most accurate portrayal of Washington ever made is really Veep and In the Loop. Like all of the other things are not realistic. I mean, there's threads of the West Wing, and that's probably your idealized version of it. But if you talk to anybody in Washington, Veep is. I mean, for me, Veep is so real that I never finished watching the show because it's like it gave me anxiety.
Really?
So yeah. That's much more what the day-to-day is like than the West Wing. Because for most of the people, that's what your life is like, right? There's a few select people that are the characters in the West Wing, but for the rest of the world, your life is like Veep. So I have so many different. This would make a cool movie. I hope someone's making it.
I think this would make a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, wow, this is so fun all right. So you've all right. This is really interesting because this movie in a sense has been cast once already with Will Smith and
right.
But we do play some games on the show called one of them is called Cast Away, where we talk about dream casting of characters. And I feel like I got to maybe start with Lily on casting. And so I threw a bunch of characters in our notes. We don't have to start anywhere in particular, but we've got Addison, we've got Aunt Delia and Uncle Nigel, we've got Molly, his sister, we've got Raj, his buddy, he's kind of like the survival character, but also seems to be a little bit of a calamity in the process. We got Eddie, who just seems to worry a lot. Guadalupe, who I loved, and I'm disappointed to hear doesn't return in the next two books. But I absolutely
she'll come back at some point.
Okay, all right, good. I see an Avengers style team up of these visiting characters. Guadalupe is amazing. Professor Rhaegar is a villain. Zubov's another villain. Lily, where do you see?
Why are you starting with me?
I don't know, because you read things. Becky, go find Becky.
Well, I'm going to
let Becky go.
Becky's the one who actually makes movies. So
no, please, that does not qualify. Castaway is not a qualifier for this game. But I'm going for Aunt Delia and Uncle Nigel. I have a pair that came to mind that I think have great chemistry together. Whether or not they could pull off these parts in particular, I'm curious what your thoughts are. But I think they make a great team. Would be Ali Wong and Randall Park, because they're so good together in Always Be My Maybe. Like let's team them up again. Let's put them in something else. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
For legal reasons, is Jonathan allowed to say if he likes that? I don't know.
I don't know. Or maybe are they already cast and I'm predicting it now.
No, I think that's a hilarious matchup. Ali Wong's amazing. It's been interesting I remember Ali, she dated a friend of mine, weirdly enough. And so I remember when she was doing the craziest, most like provocateur Andy, oh my God, I can't remember his last name, like provocateur stand-up. Andy Kaufman. She was doing Andy Kaufman stuff at the tiniest dive comedy clubs in Echo Park. And now she's like a household name. It's so
And amazing. Now she's a household name. And then, and then they always end up doing something family friendly,
Yeah, I know. And her stand-up, as you probably know.
Like her stand-up, but that's what it is. Her stand-up is not family friendly. And so I think as an adult, it's always really fun to see someone like that in a kid's movie doing that. And anyways, just a funny idea.
I think, Beck, you definitely hit something there. That's very cool.
Look, I listen.
I like how you also just cast the aunt and uncle. Like you're not going to do the whole thing.
Oh, no, I can't do the whole thing. That's too much. I am not a casting director.
I think Randall Park is sort of like a somewhat nerdy expert, professor type would
believable.
Would go really well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so mine is like a little bit. Okay, mine's a little bit different. I cast Addison as a girl.
Okay.
That might be like a bit much. Yeah.
Well, that's a girl's name too. It can be either.
It's a girl's name.
It can be a girl.
When I was reading it, I forgot that it's a boy. Because Addison to me is a girl's name. I don't know. And so, you know who came to my mind, Shai? Becky, I don't know if you watch the show, and I don't know if you watch the show. Momona Tamada. It's Claudia from Babysitter's Club.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool.
She's tiny, but so feisty, and I could just see her in this like adventure role.
So that's funny because my baby.
So she could play the sister. She could play the little sister. She could play Molly if we're going with like a dude for the role. And obviously this is if you filmed it like 10 years ago, because I think she's a teenager now. But
well,
anyways.
I
see that energy.
I like all-time casting, so we can use any era. But my casting for Guadalupe, also going to that Babysitter's Club, like I think that Babysitter's Club, like all of those actors who played the babysitters are gonna.
I think they're all great.
That they just like that's sort of like The Outsiders. Like all of those people are gonna be massive stars, and
they're great actresses.
I cannot pronounce. I don't know if I'll pronounce her name properly, but the young person who played America.
America.
Yeah, America. Yeah, the one who played Dawn, Cochitil Gomez. I hope I pronounced it. Yeah. She would be my Guadalupe choice.
That's what I was thinking too.
So
I literally just went to the cast of this show and pulled from there. They're all really good.
In that sense, I do think former Friday Night Movie guest Rebecca Johnson would make a great Aunt Delia.
She would
make a great
she'd make great.
She's from Glow. She's also in an episode of Babysitter's Club. She would have made a great Aunt Delia.
But my Aunt Delia was Tracy Ellis Ross.
Oh, that's a really good one too.
That's another great one.
I have obviously no gender. Like everybody's a different race in this.
Well, you could make Uncle Nigel Aunt Nigel, and it can be Tracy Ellis Ross and Rebecca Johnson are married. That would work great.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that would be great.
That would be great. What about you, Jonathan? Is there like any dream casting in here beyond the entire Smith family or Ben Stiller's family, like the people you've already imagined in it?
Ben Stiller's family.
Ben Stiller is Uncle Nigel, and Christine Taylor is Aunt Delia.
I think what started to happen now is that once the first book jacket came out, I was like, all right, okay, they're white kids, and that's okay. And I'll draw from my father's side, my British heritage, because I gave Aunt Delia and Uncle Nigel British accents, and because I just am a sucker for a British accent. So by book 3, you're in England, and Addison's learning about his whole family tree. And something that's cool about like my father's side of the family, everyone in England knows their family tree back to 1066 because William the Conqueror kept such amazing tax records in the Doomsday Book. So genealogy is incredibly easy in England. I can tell you every Stokes.
And I guess they were doing a lot of the conquering as opposed to, right? So like, it's not like
being conquered.
Like the records were being burned in the palace that often, right? By then.
Right. So we know the first Adam de Stock who came over from Normandy, was a Norseman who went over there with William the Conqueror, and we know where he settled. And
that's so cool. That is wild.
So I want to give Addison that long of a lineage because I think that's totally plausible. It exists in my family, most English families. So he is English now, I think, or of English extraction, and I'm just going to embrace that. And that's my identity, so I'm allowed to write in that vein. So in terms of casting, Addison will have an American accent, but I think his family will be of British extraction to one degree or another.
I imagine his character reminded me a lot of Kevin McAllister in the first Home Alone. Like this little kid who's got a few things he's afraid of, but is very grown up and can speak in very adult terms with people. I like
that he's still afraid of stuff though.
Yeah. My favorite, so I just want to talk about my favorite scene in the book for a moment. There's a scene in the book where they escape. There's this whole set piece in a wedding of a gangster that they have to infiltrate. And Addison, with such amazing confidence, tries to get himself. It's like, I love a wedding. And he kind of talks his way in and out of trouble. And then there's, lots of action as well, which, by the way, I love the way you write action. I don't usually understand action in books very well. I still don't understand how Sirius Black died in that 5th Harry Potter book. Like, it still doesn't make sense to me. But I could imagine all of the action in this book. It made me think that, wow, I really want to see this movie made, but this isn't like a one-room play. This has got real production value. This is a big budget movie. And is that the reason why the books have to sell, or would the studios that want an original IP just like go for it, or that's what you'd hope? That's what I was hoping. Like, oh, I guess they want a sure thing, but on the other hand,
no
why not
offense,
go for something no one's made before?
That Gray Man movie was $200 million.
That was $200 million, but that was in salaries.
200.
That must have been in salaries.
Clearly, that was in cast salaries.
Yeah,
it wasn't in writing.
You could have rewritten. Could be one of Jonathan's friends. Don't be too.
Right.
Your poor friend. He didn't watch your videos. Didn't watch your videos because it's unsutured all over that thing. So.
Well,
I'm just saying that I feel like somebody should get behind your story.
Oh, but from your lips to Hollywood's ears. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, no, but you raise a good point. So I got to grow up in the 1980s when you could just make a movie that starred a bunch of kids, and we don't live in that world anymore. So it's just incredibly rare. Nowadays, a kids movie has to be like Yes Day, where you're really casting Jennifer Garner. It's her movie, it's her character arcs, and then.
That's a great point.
It's not being cast off of kids. I don't think Home Alone gets made in 2022. In fact, I can pretty much guarantee you it does not get made. Or if Home Alone gets made, it's about the parents, and it's really their castability in order to budget the movie. Because you're right, Addison has set pieces that would cost a little bit of money, and so no studio is just going to gamble on an unknown 10-year-old actor or whatever, 12-year-old actor. It needs castability. So the path forward for a book like Addison, and again, it's a little inside baseball, is it has to become like a Diary of a Wimpy Kid, where the book sales are so overwhelming that there's a mandate. And the reason I can say that with some confidence is I've been on the other end. A big part of my what I facetiously call my career is adapting other authors' books for Hollywood studios. Like I get to be the screenwriter that ruins other kids' books. So like my probably my hands down favorite kids book author is Jonathan Stroud. He wrote the Bartimaeus trilogy, which is now a quadrilogy, and he wrote an amazing book series called Lockwood and Company, which is terrific middle grade writing. It's just so clever. I'm pretty sure he's definitely British. I think he's Jewish. I think he's a fellow British Jew like I am. But I got to adapt his books for Universal, and the books are such a slam dunk to be made into an amazing movie series. And it was just the easiest writing assignment of my life. I didn't have to do anything, just get out of the way of the books. They're so well written. And Universal is like, oh yeah, we're never going to do this because the books they've sold fine, but they haven't blown the lid off of Barnes and Nobles. So if they can't make Lockwood,
Shai, you know what you have to do? You have to buy all these books.
Well, I mean, it sounds like I don't have to, but at least, I mean, I like
a lot
reading.
more copies.
Wow,
Shai has
obviously.
You're like re-engineering my view on books. I'm like, clearly we've got to buy more books if we want more movies. I thought we just had to buy tickets at the theater.
No, I think if we want more good movies,
so this is a great. This is a great. First of all, this is a great segue into Raising the Stakes, which everyone has to subscribe to on YouTube.
My new favorite show.
We just plowed through all of the. I was watching them with the kids today. My wife, who hates all the YouTube things I watch, loved it.
Can I ask a question right up at the top?
Back and forth.
Question right off the bat. Why are you sharing your knowledge? Why are you giving us this gift? What is motivating you to give us this gift of your expertise, your knowledge, your opinions, your why?
Because it does feel like you're getting like a little bit of like a secret recipe,
like a pre, right? And it's also like a pre-course.
I mean,
yeah, I don't need to do that Aaron Sorkin masterclass that's like $10,000.
Yeah,
and like super boring, I'm sure. Or he's not giving you the secrets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why give away the secret sauce? Like why give away my competitive advantage? It's a legitimate question. I think that part of what I love about YouTube and what I love about the internet is I've been the beneficiary of so many people giving away their secret sauce. So I used to spend a lot of time editing Wikipedia, and Wikipedia is just a whole bunch of people devoting endless hours of time sharing their knowledge with no hope of reward and no hope of profit. And if anything, Wikipedia is just you're constantly in edit wars and people are reverting your edits, and it costs you a little bit of your soul. And yet millions of people are willing to do this just to sort of help out strangers on the internet who are never going to know their name. It's fascinating, and it shouldn't exist, and yet here we are with the largest encyclopedia ever created. And similarly with YouTube, certainly as a screenwriter, I use YouTube all the time. As a human being, if I can't figure out why the garden hose is sort of rusted onto the spigot and how I'm supposed to get it off, I go and I watch YouTube, and some dude on YouTube is explaining it perfectly for me. And maybe they'll make some ad revenue, but probably not, because they've got 3 subscribers or something, and they're just giving away their information, and it helps my life. And so I interpret everything that happens to me in life through a lens of guilt and obligation.
There's your
By the way, I love the way Jonathan is giving us his own is walking his own walk by not giving us he's showing us, not telling us, because he dropped shekels. Now he's telling us about his guilt and his British Jewish ancestry. So he's giving us the backstory.
No, it's Chicago. His mom's from Chicago. His mom's Jewish from Chicago.
Okay, got it.
So no, but I'm fascinated. He's clearly a good storyteller.
Keep going. Yes, riveted.
Well, I guess the punchline is just I feel like I've been the beneficiary of all kinds of YouTube videos.
You're paying it forward.
I'm paying it forward. Like, look, I can't I can't make a video on how to fix your garden hose. I have no idea. I can't make a video to explain how to charge your Tesla. It took me,
the truth is, writing, and especially for film, is a lot more than those videos. Obviously, those videos are so.
Yeah, it's not
helpful.
like I could like by myself go out and write something based on.
And it's not about maybe even going to school or not. There's a sense of talent that comes with being able to construct a story. I think that like you're clearly not being like, okay, now you've seen my videos, go write an Oscar-winning script. That's not the whole point. I think to me, your videos were so wonderful and amazing because it helps you really enjoy film better. I think as an audience or consumer, you enjoy. I love writing. I love script writing. I love all of that and reading. Shai, it's crazy. Some people like reading. I know, but it's true. And so seeing your videos kind of brought me back to a time of like when I was in college or my degree or whatever it was, or when I was more in the thick of that every day. And getting like a glimpse back into that of remembering, thinking about film in that kind of way, or deconstructing different scenes, comparing. We do this all the time. That's why we have a podcast. We want to compare scenes and compare movies.
But we're still not going to
videos.
Yeah.
What? Sorry.
I'm just imagining Shai having watched all the videos and like Carrie Dubek and the other two now walking around with some cut off gloves and a notebook going, I'm a writer. I am a writer now. Just like a blank page.
No.
At the very least, it makes you a better film critic. And if that's what we're doing here, then you know what? Now you can say words like suture.
I'm more of like a film liker than I am a critic.
No, I would say film analyst.
But it puts into words a lot of the things that you analyze all the time.
That is
right.
True.
It helps you kind of organize, and the editing, the examples are amazing. I can't believe you sifted through like all of that. I'm sure you watched that stuff.
Or I have a question. Or are you more? Do you have like an encyclopedic brain for film and examples? Because when someone's like, "Give me an example of, good exposition," you'd be like, "I don't know. Like, how do you like?"
No, it's one of the many tragedies of the tragic comedy of my life is I have a horrendous memory for actor names, director names, movies that I saw.
You wouldn't think it from your videos.
Many's the time I'll be pitching or I'll be in a general meeting and just completely unable to come up with the name. Like Tom, he was in a movie. He flew an airplane, like a fighter jet. It's just I could be talking to Tom Cruise, and he was in the movie where he was in a wheelchair and he was a Vietnam vet. It's pathetic. No, so yeah, it is. I wish I do know a number of people who have this staggering genetic memory for every movie.
I did before COVID.
You did before COVID.
I can't remember names the same. I think the fog will go away in 6 months, but I used to be able to pull names like that, and I was sticking on. I can't even remember the name I was sticking on earlier today, but I was sticking on.
I mean, you're also getting a little older.
Old, so
I mean, he has a youthful glow, but he's.
No, there's nothing.
Do you lean heavily on IMDb for your constructing of these videos, because the references that you use are quite extensive?
No, I don't know. I just have to like think really hard and try to remember. I mean, there have been phases in my life when I watched a lot of movies, and then phases when I just completely like, who has the time? I'm supposed to do this for a living. And then I find that I often just come back to the same movies again and again, which is a little bit sad. I don't know. One of my best friends went an entire year only reading Moby Dick. Like he read Moby Dick 40 times, and I'm sympathetic to that. Like I actually have that impulse where I would rather watch Princess Bride 100 times than just take a risk on a movie that's going to utterly disappoint me when I'm really in the mood to watch something really satisfying.
Don't watch The Gray Man then. Because you might be disappointed if you don't feel like watching a movie. Definitely watch it. But if you're like, and then also it seems like you really like action and adventure. It's a feeling that I get.
Right.
And so it seems like a genre you're into.
I am halfway through The Gray Man. Go ahead.
And I love the way in your discussion of film and script, you don't shy away from action movies. Like, I think action movies and comedies in some ways, they get dismissed. They get dismissed to a certain level as serious art, and a really great I don't know how you qualify Indiana Jones, but like Raiders of the Lost Ark is an action movie as far as I'm concerned, and it's perfect.
I was talking to action was talking to my husband as I'm saying your video about the nuking the fridge out loud to him as I'm watching it. I'm just repeating it to him, and I was like, it's,
in Spanish though, in Spanish.
Right, I'm just translating it, and so it's such a great point, and I can't tell you how many times the poor guy, and he loves action movies, he loves adventure movies, but he talk about the whole suturing thing. He is taken out of the movie because the fight scenes are so bad, or they're so good to everybody else, to like layman's eyes, but to him, he's like, oh God, really? Like that could have been choreographed better. That could have been this, and he can just, see how all the mistakes. And I was talking to him about the whole thing about your point about Jackie Chan and how when if someone actually gets hurt, who's supposed to be invincible, and they get hurt, the stakes are higher and you're more nervous as an audience member. If The Rock can never get hurt, then you're kind of like, well, whatever, it doesn't matter while you're watching.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great point. And that's an action movie, but that's the same thing with any kind of movie across the board. If you're not feeling that anxiety and nervousness for your character, then it doesn't really matter what happens. I like that you use the martial artists for that.
Well, I was watching it with the kids, so we were watching your videos with the kids, and that whole point about why we care about Jackie Chan, I went through this with them because I've been introducing them to Jackie Chan movies. We watched the Rush Hour movies, and I looked at them while you were talking about
Shanghai Noon
and Shanghai Noon, how he gets hurt. And I physically saw my kids' reactions to, in Shanghai Noon, there's the bell tower fight and them like jumping, right? And like with the excitement that the first time you see a scene where you don't know what's going to happen to the hero. And I was like, oh, this is why, because this must be why, because Jonathan's explaining that it's because that Jackie Chan's character actually gets hurt. And I think that's really it's really cool that you were able to articulate something that I knew was happening, and then they were able to understand it because they were like, oh, that's why we were so excited by Jackie Chan, like the adventure in Jackie Chan. Now, I'm not showing them any Jet Li movies. I don't know of a Jet Li movie that like good and appropriate for them. So
maybe a few years on that.
Yeah. I don't. They're not ready for Unleashed as much as my dad probably wants them to.
Loves that movie.
Wants to watch it.
Yeah, I think I think this all maybe ties back to The Gray Man, which so on Wednesday I woke up, thought what a glorious day, was awake for maybe 45 seconds, bent down to play with my Labrador, and she's shaking the toy, and I tweak my neck, and then spend the next,
we've all been there.
I spend like the next hour lying on my back.
Three of us are held together by string.
Yeah, string, titanium, discectomies. That's our family. Yeah. If you need a good back surgeon, we have a great one.
We have a family back surgeon.
Because he's done all of us.
Well, where I'm going with this is, so I spend the next hour on the living room floor, and then I don't think I can do anything today. And I go to a chiropractor for the first time ever. I thought they were all quacks. I was very suspicious, but I was just in that much pain from playing with my dog, right? And so then, Gray Man, you can watch a guy kill 25 people in 4 minutes without a scratch on him. And this is true. I do want to say two things about The Gray Man, because I'm halfway through it and I'm totally enjoying the thrill ride. And I do think on the one hand that you have to evaluate a movie on its own intentions, right? Like, what did that movie set out to accomplish? And is it delivering
on the promise, right?
Is it delivering on lots of screen time with Ryan Gosling? Yes.
Right.
That's what I took away from it. Is it delivering on that? I'm confused about Billy Bob Thornton's agent? Yes. Confused. Like, I had a lot of questions after seeing that movie.
Well, so far where I am in the movie, I feel like I would give an A++ to the Gray Man. What they set out to do, I feel they've utterly accomplished. They're entertaining the hell out of me. Do I give them an A++ on screenwriting structure? Maybe not so much. Do I feel for Ryan Gosling in the ways that we're describing, where I understand what it's like to play with your dog and then be unable to look up and to the left? For then I'm going back to the chiropractor after this podcast, because my girlfriend will tap me on this shoulder and I can't turn around and look at her yet. So I understand the realities of like what would be like if I was attacked by 37 mercenaries. So you're right. Am I completely invested in Ryan Gosling's character? Maybe not as much as I'd be invested in, say, Michael Corleone in The Godfather. In The Godfather, right. Dude gets punched in the jaw. I think I put that in the video. Dude gets
absolutely.
Did, yeah.
And then for the next 1,000 pages of that book, he's dealing with the consequences. I know friends who have had concussions, from falling off a horse or
my son headbutted me. And I could never see a movie again. My son headbutted me like you do in the movies when you're trying to headbutt a villain, right? You're fighting, you headbutt them. My son headbutted me. He
by
was
accident.
2.
He wasn't fighting you.
By accident. We weren't fighting.
Oh, okay,
he jumped off the couch and jumped into my face. Like, he headbutted me from jumping off the couch. So if I'm the villain and he's the hero, right, and I'm supposed to now keep fighting him, or vice versa, if I'm the hero and I get headbutted, I'm 3 years later, I still can't deal with my nose. I need surgery. It broke in 3 places. It hurt so goddamn much. I literally afterwards, I was like, I can never watch a movie. Every time someone gets headbutted in a
Lily,
movie,
that nose, I feel like that nose has taken a serious beating. Like, my nose is much bigger than yours, but your nose has endured so much. Your nose is like
poor nose. Anyways, my point is that now when I see that, I'm like, nope, he's not getting up. That hurts so much. There's no way he's getting up. Just that headbutt on the nose. That nose is very broken. It hurts so much. You can't concentrate.
Yeah. So this is the reality of things. Yeah. But my mother, she fell down go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. My mother fell down in Phoenix Airport at Thanksgiving.
Which I'm so sorry about.
I hope she's okay.
Broke her nose. Thank you. She's doing fine. Okay, she broke her nose. And again, she still sees double. She's still getting over the concussion. If she had the black eye and everything. But this is the reality. Like, if you've ever been in a fight, I used to get in a lot of fights in middle school and high school, and it takes eons to recover from. So so I think we sense that on some level.
We suspend belief. I think it's great to suspend belief.
So this is actually this is my biggest question for Jonathan on this whole subject, which is, movies don't have to be realistic, right? They're not documentaries in order for them to work, but there is this time where things can take you out of it. And then, right, like, you're watching Lord of the Rings and you are in that universe. You're watching, you're watching Star Wars, you're in that universe. You're not sitting most people aren't like, oh, well, that's not the sound that a lightsaber would make when it turns on. What makes
most people would say,
or even Addison Cooke, you're not really thinking, the whole time, like, how did these kids get their own plane tickets and fly to Colombia, right? Like, but so what is that? How do you write that? What is? But
it can be done well, and it can be done not well.
Right. What's the difference maker? What's the true difference?
Shai, watch the YouTube channel.
No, I've watched the whole YouTube channel.
They're redundant, making him answer questions. I'm just kidding.
I've watched it too, and I still have that question.
No, but I still have that question.
I can't wait for you to finish The Gray Man. You're going to have to email us, because I'm curious if,
wait, Lily, I had my question.
No, that's the same question.
Okay.
So your question
what's the dividing line? What's the difference between an unrealistic hero? I don't know, Martin Riggs in Lethal Weapon, which like my Mel Gibson blind spot is one of my worst qualities. So Martin Riggs in Lethal Weapon, John McClane in the first Die Hard. What's the difference between, or even the second and third Die Hard? What's the difference between us feeling for and believing the inhuman feats that those guys are able to do? Thor in the good Thor movies, right? Versus a situation.
Well, he's a demigod. No one's questioning that.
No,
that's weird.
But where the situations where folks like where there are no stakes, right? Like that's the problem I hear sometimes with Superman, right? They're like, what are the stakes in Superman? He's got all these powers.
Yeah.
Like the first thing you have to do with Superman in a Superman movie is depower him.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, I've never been excited about a Superman movie for exactly that reason. But there's a time and a place for all different sorts of movies. It's really fun to watch, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and watch these two swordsmen just plow through thousands and thousands of soldiers killing everybody. There is a certain pleasure in that. And yeah, you can go and watch Rambo 5 and have a good time, I'm sure. Clearly these movies have an audience, but in terms of a character that endures for decades, like how you feel about Martin Riggs from a movie that was, 40 years old. Jesus.
Yeah.
It's 40
just
years
about
old.
Almost 40 years old. Yeah, almost 40
yeah.
years. Like
And you still have that feeling about Martin Riggs because he was suicidal. Like he was so depressed and he had messed up things that happened in Vietnam. And he had this incredible talent, as a sniper, but, hated himself. And how can he redeem himself through being a cop and saving a life or two? What a compelling character, and a character we've never seen a cop portrayed in quite that way. I gotta say,
you're making Lethal Weapon sound way better. I feel like
first of all, I think Lethal Weapon. I'm just going to separately say I think Lethal Weapon, even the fourth one, which is kind of silly, but like is like one of the best character-driven action movies ever because it is like one of the best arcs. Martin Riggs's change.
Well, yeah, that's like you were just saying, you hadn't seen a cop exactly like that before.
Yeah, right. Rambo 1 was an incredible character study, and in Rambo 1, I can't remember now. Does he kill anyone in Rambo 1?
According to your videos, he kills one person.
He kills one person.
I think he does kill one of the cops that he's fighting with. The one that's I don't know if he falls off a cliff or he falls off he does kill one of the cops because that's part of how things really escalate.
But to your point, I do think there's a time and place for everything. Like especially like a Crouching Tiger. You're in that world. You're in those rules.
Fantasy.
Those are the rules. Or even Mission Impossible. Like those are the rules of Mission Impossible, and we're along for the ride. Or Top Gun, or like any of these big fun action movies. But a movie like Gray Man, I think I would have enjoyed as an audience if it was a little bit more, a little less is more in that case. I would have been more invested. I would have cared more if I really thought like something bad would happen to my Ryan. But I'm like, Ryan Gosling is clearly fucking invincible on this. And
my issue is that I didn't care what happened to him.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the thing is I didn't. I just enjoyed watching his amazing
But
face
I mean, if he died like
the whole time.
Anyways. Okay, so let's play
glib. And when people are trying to kill you and you still can be glib, that's a big warning sign, I think, for a character. And
whatever.
The only appropriate reaction when someone's trying to kill you is that's the only thing you should be saying. Witty quips.
Whereas I think in one of your videos, I'm pretty sure you bring up Drive, which is I think one of his best movie. Mm-hmm. I think that's his best movie and one of the best movies I've seen.
That's in one of the exposition ones because they don't tell you
there's
a
like
lot
no
about
talking in that movie. Almost no one talks.
That's true.
And I was enthralled and I was so nervous, and that movie's so well done, and it's the same actor and he's fantastic. And so I'm like, okay, I think you tried to insert Drive, Ryan, in this movie, and he can't just be like whatever about everything. You can't be, like you said, you can't be that cool when there's like actual like knives being thrown at your head all the time or whatever.
It is a delicate sort of feather you have to blow this feather in the air and keep it aloft as to when you lose your audience and when you keep your audience, because there are plenty of movies that have mediocre structure and a wise cracking character who's wisecracking in life or death situations where and who's maybe killing a lot of bad guys. And yet it's so entertaining that I forgive it. And at no point does the movie ever lose me. Like, what could be more meta than a Deadpool movie where we're constantly the fourth wall? We're constantly doing flips.
Right.
I'm completely entertained throughout, and I'm never walking out of a Deadpool movie stomping my feet saying, "Oh, they broke suture." So it's a really complex thing, and I think the rule is that if you're entertaining enough, you can break whatever rules you want.
Yeah. And I think that other point that Lily was talking about, which is establishing the rules of the universe, probably make a big difference. Like, if there are clear rules to how this is going to go, which Deadpool seems to always do right away.
Right. And so does RRR, the first scene of RRR.
Oh, have you seen RRR, Jonathan?
Not yet. Should I watch it?
That's the best.
Today. Watch it today.
That's the best.
Chiropractor, then come home and watch RRR.
And that's like a hot heating pad on the neck, like a little heating pad on the neck.
Just watch RRR.
And that was recommended to us by another a fellow director based in Hollywood who's been on the show a few times, Mike Roberts. He texted me one day and just wrote RRR. And I'm like, what? He's like, just, you have to watch it now.
I'm actually watching it right now for the third time. Wow. I've been, it's a long movie. It takes a couple of days, but I'm about 2/3 of the way through on my third watch of it.
Wow.
You can definitely watch it in three pieces.
We watch it like we do an hour at a time. Because it's I mean, you could watch the whole thing in one sitting, I guess.
But to that point, and you'll see when you watch it, it's a very different world than the action movies we're used to seeing, that I'm used to seeing, and it's obviously not realistic. That's not the point of the movie. And from the minute it starts, it's telling you. Oh, maybe the second scene, first and second.
From the second scene.
Yeah, really the second scene, I guess. The first scene, you're kind of like, oh, I guess this is like a typical. And then the second scene, you're like, oh, wait, no, the rules are different here. And then you're along for this ride, and that helps too. But I feel like when you're all of a sudden, like you say with the Fast and Furious, like they're supposed to be in this world. That world's very established by that movie, and The Rock is in it, but they can only punch each other the exact same amount of times. It's so ridiculous how you're breaking the rules of the world, even that they've established in other movies.
Right. Like, yeah. I don't know much about boxing, but it's like if you weigh 135 pounds, you're not allowed to fight someone who's 132 pounds, right? If you could put The Rock with Vin Diesel and they can just go at it for hours, apparently. Yeah,
right.
That's really funny. I watch a lot of wrestling, and so you can, but that's got to be rehearsed. Let's play another signature game of Friday Night Movie. This one is called Buy, Rent, and Meh. Oh, my Alexa just turned on. No, thank you, Alexa. Buy, rent, and no, I don't.
She wants.
Alexa, please stop.
Tell her you want to buy Addison
And
Cooke
by the way,
books.
I want everyone to
Cooke
know,
books.
I always say please to Alexa, because when
So
the
do
machines
I.
rise up, they're coming to the people who were rude to them first. So
Exactly.
I'm always polite to Alexa. Okay, so Buy, Rent, Meh works as this. We're going to give you 3 things, and you have to force rank them according to the official Friday Night Movie ranking system, which is Buy, Rent, and Meh. And then there are variations that go below if you want to go, like there's bleh and there's feh, right? So you don't need to use those. We're just letting you know they're out there if you really want to get fancy. Like if you really hate something, because meh isn't really negative. It really depends on how
it could be if you haven't seen it, or you're just like, I could take it or leave it.
Because we don't want to force people to be mean to things. So on the subject of nuked fridges, I pulled out some what I would say are overpowered characters where there are some questions that I always see around those movies that they elicit of like what are we supposed to do with these characters if they're basically invincible? And so one of them is, we talked about Superman before, but I'm going to go with Captain Marvel, because Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, she is great as that character, but there's this issue by the time you're getting to Avengers Endgame where her powers are so crazy that there has to be constant explanations as to where she is. She
went to the bathroom, so now we have to figure out how to save the world.
Whatever, right? So Captain Marvel, then Dominic Toretto from Fast and the Furious, because I want to pay tribute to your videos, and then Ethan Hunt from the Mission Impossible movies, who I think is also somewhat overpowered at this point. How would you rank order those three?
Okay, I haven't watched the Avengers.
Okay.
You don't need to. They basically created a Superman who's like has mega super more powers than Superman, who has nothing that can defeat her. She's all powerful.
Wow.
And now they're stuck because she could beat everything and everyone all the time.
But in order to beat the bad guy, she needed to run across the battlefield with all the women together. She needed to do it as a team. But she's so powerful.
I don't know if you watched The Boys, but that scene was very, very well sent up in The Boys.
I think you would like The Boys. It's a bit violent if you're okay with that.
Very violent.
I haven't heard of it.
In very gross ways.
On Amazon Prime, it's sort of like Garth Ennis's very dark telling of what if superheroes. Like really existed.
Okay, that's true. Maybe I should watch
that. Like as if the Avengers, those characters were actually real people in our lives. Like Captain
actual
America
human flaws.
And they were cute superheroes, but like you could go see him for real at a Comic-Con. He's actually a really big asshole in real life, imagine.
Like Hancock. I get it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. But very dirty. So I recommend it.
I have a friend who just got hired to adapt the Buddha story, and now has to figure out Buddha has no vulnerabilities. Like, how do you write the character? Like, normally you're writing from like the characters in their past, and they have a story arc or something. He's like, my character's infallible. How do you?
I feel like he likes snacks. A lot of snacks.
That's his weakness. He has no weakness. He snacks too much.
Oreos.
That's why they call it a Buddha belly.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
A little chunky in the middle. Not that that's a bad thing. That's not a flaw. He just maybe, he like misses doing some good deeds.
Maybe he gets distracted. He just gets distracted.
By the snacks.
Having too many snacks.
That's true. But some poor writer had to adapt that character you're describing and figure out.
That's terrible.
Vulnerable. We called it a Mary Sue or a Marty Stew when the character wins every single scene. Like Kylo Ren in Star Wars is infallible, right? She wins every single scene she's ever in. She learns how to use the.
We mean Ray.
No,
Ray.
Kylo
Ren's.
Sorry. Who's Kylo Ren?
That's okay.
Kylo Ren's the bad guy. He's Skywalker's nephew.
Got it. Sorry about that. Ray.
Adam Driver plays him.
Ray learns how to use the Force in 30 seconds. Like what took Luke going all the way to Yoda's.
We have discussed that in detail on this podcast. We have done therapy sessions about that issue. Where is her training? Why does she not need to be trained? Why were we as audience members robbed of her being trained?
And then she has no backstory. I loved Ray when she was a mystery box.
Yeah.
She still in some ways is like my favorite new character, but in the way I imagine her, not what we were actually given. So I'm with you there. All right, so you're stalling on your rankings here.
Okay, so the Captain America one, I can't. I'm not qualified to judge in terms of Dominic Toretto versus. I just rewatched Mission Impossible 1 yesterday.
Oh wow,
that's still my favorite one.
Yeah.
Oh,
she's so good.
Because he's a regular human in that one.
She is a regular human. I know what you mean. I will grant that, like, I am just such an unapologetic fan of Tom Cruise forever, for all time. Tom Cruise could come over to my house and kill my dog, and I'd be like, oh.
You and Mike Roberts should hang out.
Yeah, you and Mike. Mike, I think, feels exactly the same way.
So with Tom Cruise, there's always this quality of him trying as hard as he possibly can at whatever character he is. I feel like he's striving so hard that, like maybe you could say that Ryan Gosling in The Gray Man doesn't appear to be trying very hard. Like he's never out of breath. And he just like finishes jumping off the train as it explodes. And then he's just like, and just sort of like gets into the car and does this weird flick with his hand, like, no biggie. And then he does a witty quip or whatever. I'm not dissing Ryan Gosling. I mean, I would kill to have him.
I mean, this podcast would never, ever diss Ryan Gosling, but you're not wrong.
Never.
Never. But at least with Tom Cruise, you get that Harrison Ford-esque quality of like Harrison Ford wins a fight and he can't believe it, right? Like, and
they're actually sweating.
Yeah, right. I mean, Tom Cruise, I buy it. When he has to jump off an airplane or whatever he's doing, somehow he sells it for me, and I'm still on board.
It's probably because he's actually jumping out of the airplane.
He's actually doing it. You're right. He's like the new Buster Keaton.
Right. Doing all his own stunts.
That's an amazing comparison.
So if you're asking me to compare Vin Diesel to Tom Cruise, I'm too biased. I'm not sure I can fairly answer that question.
All right. That's
I love your rating system. He could kill my dog.
It's gonna be our new one. Okay. All right. And now let's talk in the spirit of Addison Cooke. Let's talk about some historical based adventures. We've got Indiana Jones, we've got the National Treasure series, and then the closest I could sort of come to playing in there, but I'm welcome other options is the Kingsman, the recent Kingsman. I don't know if you've seen that, or the Kingsman movies. They have a little bit of retelling of world history, world events through the eyes. Do you have an order on those three?
I do. I feel extremely guilty about this because behind everyone in these movies was a writer and hundreds of crew members who poured their hearts and souls into it. And any movie getting made, the worst movie in the world getting made, is still a miracle.
Right. And we really do like to honor that, because we do talk to there are friends of ours who make them, and I think it was Gabe who said to us, it's really hard. No, maybe it was Gabe or Mike who said it's really hard to make a bad movie. Meaning, like, the work you put into it and have a movie come out bad is still an insane amount of work. And so we in no way dishonor movies when we. And
there's some bad movies that we love, and some good movies that I hate.
Yeah. Oh my God, I went on a whole so the base level with which we are, and our audience expects you to come here is with personal love.
Okay, good. Yeah. As long as that's understood.
And we hope anyone who listens to this of any significance is not going to be like, oh, Jonathan Stokes likes Tom Cruise more than Vin Diesel.
Right.
I think Vin Diesel's never going to play Addison Cooke.
I was about to say, I think the only person thinking that is Vin Diesel.
Love Vin Diesel. And Ryan Gosling is hands down one of my all-time favorite actors. I would
absolutely
glass get anything going with Ryan Gosling. So yeah, it's just
he's amazing.
We're all going to have our personal tastes as to genres of movie and the believability of different types of movies. I'm only halfway through The Gray Man. I'm having the best time watching it. I totally value it.
Expect an email when you're done.
What's that?
Expect an email review when you're done.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'll let you know.
I want to hear.
So yeah, I like Indiana Jones is iconic. I grew up on it. Again, possibly not a fair question, so I have to put that number one.
Nothing fair about this question.
I put Kingsman because I did think it was extremely clever and extremely inventive. There was a lot of stuff in that movie I had not seen before. Oh, and wow. National Treasure for me was, a bit preposterous to be. Of course, I'm going to have fun in a Nick Cage movie, and I'm going to have some understanding of what world I'm in. But how invested I'm going to be, when it's like, wait a second, we have to steal the Declaration of Independence. For me, there were a few bridges too far in that movie, but I still thought it was a tremendous amount of fun. But if you held me to the fire and you made me answer, those are great. All
right, okay.
That's a great answer.
So now, again, because I feel like you're the person who's really guided me through a deeper understanding of the whole world of exposition. I'm going to give you 3 voiceover expositions. Okay. And ones that I think are considered good. I mean, or I don't know, but when we talk about Becky definitely has taught me to hate voiceover in movies. I never paid attention to it before, and that makes me crazy. But Goodfellas, Ray Liotta, Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Right. Talking about the Copa and all that. Okay.
No, because I just want to be clear. There's no in between with voiceover. It never, ever, ever works, except when it does. It's fantastic. Yeah. And there's no in between. There's no like, oh, it kind of works. It never works. That's the rule. Once in a while, someone breaks the rule and it's fantastic.
I don't know if any of these, I don't know if all of these qualify. The next one or voiceover, like straight up talking, exposition. Right? Then Cate Blanchett in The Lord of the Rings, the opening like narration of the ring and the elves and the men. Now, in fairness, read the book, saw the movie, still barely understand what happened. So maybe that's good.
So you need more voiceover.
I went to Ferris Bueller. I don't know. Does the opening count as a voiceover when he's walking you through his life and telling you about all the different characters?
He's breaking the fourth wall.
Or that's more of a breaking the fourth wall situation.
Yeah, he's breaking the fourth wall.
Okay,
but I think you can eke it in this example.
I can eke it in if you have a different one, Lily and Becky.
I'll
you know what? How about the opening of Clueless? Okay, how about the opening of Clueless?
There's nothing wrong with that movie. It's perfect. So it should.
No. I'm just saying. Okay, fine. I'm going to do the opening of Clueless, which, these are all movies that we love. These are not like we're not.
And she's like taking you through her getting dressed in the morning
and her dad. Yeah. Okay. So I've changed this around. Okay. So Goodfellas, Lord of the Rings, Clueless, voiceover. How do you rank these? And again, all movies we love.
All right. For me, there's a three-way tie at the top, and then one movie is way down at the bottom.
Okay.
I think I'm with Becky at 90% of the time. Voiceover is totally unnecessary, I think.
Also, Fight Club is mostly voiceover, isn't it? Doesn't he do so much voiceover?
So much voiceover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh,
okay, but Lily,
I love it.
Just added that in. The time to add it in.
I feel like
all right.
Okay, sorry.
We're way tie at the top.
That's a really good one.
Yeah. So voiceover started with the dawn of theater, right? So the ancient Greeks, the very first play ever created would have had voiceover.
The narrator.
His Greek chorus standing in the back of the stage. Giving you all the information you needed before the play started. I mean, can you imagine how creepy? I don't know if you've ever seen a Greek chorus, but I went to a really artsy college, and so it's so creepy when 12 people are reciting all at the same time. It sounds like the Borg. You're supposed to absorb this information before the play starts. And it kind of made sense when you're like Aristophanes doing it, because you only had one play set back then. They couldn't change scenery. They didn't have the technology yet. Then give them a break. They're just inventing theater for the first time. But it's been 2,300 years, people. Can we just let it go with some of this voiceover already? I'm with Becky. I think most of the time it can be done away with. You happen to have picked 4 movies where I think it's done excellently, and 1 movie where I think it can be totally done away with. Does anyone have any guesses actually as to which movie I do not forgive it in?
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, because it seems like they're just reading you a page of the book.
Right, and no one understands what she's saying anyways.
It adds nothing. You're right.
Adds nothing.
It's not in the original book. It's totally unnecessary. I don't want to be given any of that information. I want to be. The hobbits don't have any idea what's going on in Middle Earth, so why should I? Right? I should. In the books, what's done so brilliantly is these 4 hobbits have never seen Middle Earth. They've never left the Shire, and so when they go out to explore the world, they're looking at it from this eyes-up view of a little 3-foot innocent creature who doesn't know anything about wizards and orcs, and they've never seen any of this stuff. They never met an elf, and neither have I, the audience member. So that's the perfect surrogate for me to experience that story. I don't want the freaking voiceover information, and frankly, I don't want to go into Gandalf's POV to have a wizard fight. I have a lot of opinions there. Those are very near and dear to my heart. But no, Cate Blanchett's voiceover, I defy anyone to explain what she's talking about or retain any of the information. It'd be like if we were going to play a game of chess and you'd never played chess before, and you're like, how do you play chess? And I'm like, well, the King's Indian defense opens with a pawn e4 to a rook. You can't absorb any of that freaking information, right? So, the correct answer would be like, the object of chess is to checkmate. Here's what checkmate is. Now I'm going to tell you what all these pieces do. And I'm going to tell you information when you're ready to hear it and absorb it. Lord of the Rings, in my opinion, those movies break that rule extensively. But yeah, as for the other four, oh my gosh, just four fantastic examples of totally appropriate voiceover, because it's all coming from character. It's characters, they're not omniscient narrators, they're characters that are the protagonists. So you're being introduced to their inner voice. And so what's being established there is it's a first person style of narration, or maybe a third person omniscient style of narration, but it's clearly established and then carried throughout the entire work. It's one aesthetic distance. If it's an omniscient narrator for no reason, like, you can pretty much delete it, in my opinion.
Oh, all right. I love it. These takes are amazing. All right. Now we're going to wrap the show with what we traditionally wrap with, which is what we call our shout outs and recs, which are things we've been watching, things we recommend. Obviously, at the top, we recommend Addison Cooke, the 3 Addison Cooke books that are out: Addison Cooke and the Treasure of the Incas, Addison Cooke and the Tomb of Khan, Addison Cooke and the Ring of Destiny. I got those right.
Yeah.
By Jonathan Stokes. We recommend the Raising the Stakes YouTube channel. But Jonathan, are there other things that you recommend or that you are working on that we should see? I mean, you're also a director. I mean, we did in a little over an hour. We could probably have done 3 hours on all your different things. But is there any other? There could be also things that you're not working on that you're just like, oh, you should watch this movie or show. Whatever comes to mind.
Oh my God.
We can also come back to you. I'll start with. Okay.
Go ahead. Go. No, yeah. Go. You can go ahead.
Lily, what are you watching?
I haven't. I've been so enjoying this wonderful, like Jonathan had said, sometimes there's no time for movies. I've been highly enjoying all my visitors that I've had and the adventures that we've gone on this island, this volcanic island. You could write a children's book about it. So many adventures. So I haven't had much time to watch a lot of things, which is maybe why I was so disappointed in Gray Man, because it was like the one movie I watched this month. So yeah, I watched that, and I'm watching Loot, which is delightful on Apple Plus.
It is delightful.
With the great Maya Rudolph. Honestly, I could watch her just eat a bowl of cereal.
She's amazing.
Pure joy.
And
pure joy.
At the heart of this movie and at this show, which I saw a show in the open. We watched like a few episodes, and then there was like new ones hadn't come out yet, but the chemistry between her and Nat Faxon, from the first interaction, I was like, I don't care what else happens in this show. I like seeing those two on screen together. They're amazing together.
I think the chemistry, I think everybody is great.
But Shai, is it also weird to see a character based on yourself in the show? Because you are Howard, her cousin, who's the IT guy, who makes himself best friends with her assistant. He does things like buy people action figures as a way of saying thank you, obscure action figures that they don't know what these actions are, that forces them to play with them and call each other by nicknames. Yes.
I have done those things. That is true.
It is.
But yeah, that's just like a joy. That's
Ron Funches, by the way, who is
Funches, who's just
he's super funny. And I'm making it through that last part of Stranger Things, man. Holy shit, is that long?
I was so confused. I thought this was the last season. I thought this was the last season.
I might just wait till the next season.
How are each of those last 2 episodes like 2.5 hours, and the series is not over?
The last episode is longer than Top Gun.
Yeah, it is.
Film. Top Gun. There's nothing. If Tom Cruise can't justify going over 2 hours, then I'm so sorry the Duffer Brothers do not get to justify going 2 hours for one episode of television.
And there's still another whole season coming.
There's another whole season, which they promised to do shorter episodes, because this is just it's extremely bloated. There's so much. There's just too much TV. There's too many characters.
Time for them to start offing more characters on that show.
Yeah.
Because right now, I don't believe any of the main characters.
People are very defensive about that.
They can keep all the characters. Nobody can speak, and there can only be action. Like, honestly, a show that moves so well, I was going to say to Jonathan quickly, is if you haven't seen The Last Kingdom, is something that I recommend to you.
And it touches on your heritage.
Your heritage.
I've been a huge Bernard Cornwell fan, and I've read every single one of those books.
Oh, wow.
So then it's really tough with me, like Lord of the Rings, where when I'm that big a fan of the books, I come in hard judgmental on the movies.
It's really good, though. The shows no, really?
No.
Maybe give it
but if Jonathan liked the books, it's a different story. Right?
Those books are
that
fantastic.
Is true.
Yeah.
That must be why it's such a good show to people who didn't read the books.
I guess so. No,
as we've proven that all the other
shows to analness about story. So
I respect that. But that show, I don't know if the books are like this, but it's so fast paced. It's really great. And Stranger Things, like what could happen in a season of Stranger Things is like one episode of The Last Kingdom.
Right. You to Edinburgh. Yeah, I'll try checking it out again. I have a few friends that are Bernard Cornwell fans, and we all universally
can't.
We couldn't.
But I feel like that makes me happy that it's because you love the books.
He's written probably, I'm going to say 50 books, and I read all of them. And
really? All about
genres. And he is a fantastic writer, and he is a machine because he's got to be well up into his 70s, and he's pumping out at least a book a year. And these are incredibly well-researched historical fiction, whether he's writing about the Napoleonic Wars or whether he's writing about, in this recent series, he's writing about the Vikings. He's he's hands down one of the best living writers, in my opinion. And then what they went and did with that schlocky ass Netflix show, I'm sorry, that's just my opinion.
No, that's okay.
It's a knife in my heart, Lily. It's a knife in my
heart. That's hot take.
Hot take.
Well, maybe there's some part of you that feels good that we love it.
Lily won't tell Queen Elsbeth, who was in the Canary Islands all summer, and she got to
the actress that plays the Queen on the show, who does a fantastic job. I do have to say, her acting is amazing.
Love that.
She does a really good job. I met her the other day.
It's probably an amazing show. I just need to get over my own preconceptions and let go.
Do you hate Game of Thrones also? Like, I feel like it's only fair that if you hate Last Kingdom, then you have to hate Game of Thrones more.
I called it immediately with Game of Thrones. Like, everyone was surprised in season 7 when the writing fell off a cliff because they ran out of books to copy. But I called it instantaneously that the writing was worse than the books. And so I thought that the TV show, God, you're going to be giving some controversial opinions.
Oh, well, I mean, if you don't say anything that you think is going to get you in trouble. We don't want to, ruin your life.
I think that its merits are the same as the merits of Lord of the Rings, where the costuming is everything you're seeing on the screen is absolutely fantastic. The way they did the creatures, the way they did the costumes, the way they did the sets, building out that whole world was absolutely extraordinary. Granted. And frankly, like, some of the storylines on the TV show, I thought absolutely held up from the books and were done faithfully. But nearly every place where the TV show deviated from the books, I thought was a step down, not a step up in terms of the writing. And then it just accelerated.
Out of control there.
I mean, I was up until Battle of the Bastards. I thought Battle of the Bastards was breathtaking. I mean, they did things on TV I'd never seen before. So its highs were really, really, really high for me. But then the lows are pretty low for me too.
I would say, like, the other piece of that Battle of the Bastards thing is that the last really, truly hateable villain that, like, you really care about is Ramsay Bolton. Like, I never had they had to have turned Daenerys much sooner to make her a villain. To make her a true, like, turned her heel, as the wrestling term. They had to have turned her heel much sooner, because if she's going to end up being the big bad, which I saw coming the entire time, because just my own understanding of, like, politics and history, I'm like, you can't go around I'm like, she's a dictator who's murdering lots of people. Like, this doesn't end well for her. All right. Okay. So those are okay. So we've got Lily's Rex. Becky, how about your Rex?
I said I'm already rewatching RRR for the third time. I have finally been watching Mythic Quest, also on Apple Plus,
Plus,
right?
do you like that?
Yeah, I'm really, really enjoying
it's a really cool show.
And Loot. So that's where I'm at.
Mythic Quest is one of the only good COVID episodes of a TV show that I really liked because it really does something with the characters.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't gotten that far. There's a COVID episode?
It's between seasons. It's like or it's right at the end of season 1 and before season 2 or in the middle, whatever.
Okay, I haven't gotten to the COVID episode.
That one pays off at the end really, really, really.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay, Jonathan. So wait, did you want to go?
Sure, yeah. But first,
I'll go last.
What channel is Mythic Quest on? And
Apple Plus.
Apple Plus.
Okay, Apple Plus.
And that's the one about the video game company. Rob McElhenney's show, which is
I'm curious about that because I like me some Dungeons and Dragons, and so that the idea behind that show appeals to me. And then gosh, what was the other show you're recommending? I wanted to know what channel it was
Loot.
On. Yes,
Loot is also Apple Plus.
Okay.
Big plug for Apple Plus this week.
Right. Okay.
Apple Plus, less shows. I don't know if I like all their shows like as much as I like other shows, but the quality is extremely high.
Yeah, because I also started watching.
You get are really good, but not.
Well, I also started watching this other show on Apple Plus called. I wasn't going to recommend it. I'm not really recommending it. Called Acapulco, which it's sweet, but I'm like 3 episodes in and I don't know what it's about. It's just like sweet. It's like it's the 80s and people work at a resort in Acapulco. But I don't know what it's about.
It's perfect.
There's it's not like
really like someone has a high risk pregnancy and then somebody's like leaving their husband. Like that's like mom's so excited.
That's not this. This is just it's the 80s and we work at a resort. Cool.
Mom would love it anyway.
So something I can recommend without qualification. I did just finish watching the 2018 season of the Great British Baking Show.
I love that show.
You're speaking Becky's language.
I will say things. Just one is that I resisted watching the Great British Baking Show for a while out of fealty to the Great British Bake Off because it was very controversial when they switched to a different BBC channel and got rid of Mary Berry and around.
Now you have Prue. Yeah.
Now I've got Prue and
I miss Mary. Yeah.
Right. I miss Mary as well. Absolutely. But I have to say the show, it pains me not at all to say that it's every bit as good. It's just so freaking heartwarming. And to me, it's just a show about British people gaining self-esteem. And it's the 2018 season could not have been more heartwarming, where it's just a bunch of British people being like, oh, I'm not a very good baker, am I? I don't deserve to be on this show. They should just chuck me off this show. And then they
Becky, this is like
that they're actually okay at baking. And
Becky does this to me all the time. When I'm cooking or baking, Becky just like whispers the things that they say on that show because I don't watch it. And she's like, this is what it's like on the show. And she's like, and no one's mean and nobody wins any prizes. And they're always just like, oh, this is to this and this is to that. And my thing is crumbly or whatever.
Right. No one has narcissistic personality disorder. There's no screaming matches.
They help each other. If someone's done early, they help their friend.
Right.
You notice that they'll help each other. No, but I watch it like it's a sporting
Hunger
event,
Games?
and like Hunger Games, and I scream at my TV, and I throw things, and I do like replays. I'm very, very into Great British Baking Show.
Oh, it's just such a sensation. And if someone doesn't get enough rise in their sponge, I'm on the edge of my seat. What is going to happen next? And then they cut away to a couple of lambs frolicking in a field. And then they'll come back with some little classical music in the background. And I'm just delighted from start to finish. It gets me to it. There are very few things in life that can get you to a 10, consistently, right? Like if you bought a Lamborghini tomorrow, you'd be at a 10. But like a year later, your Lamborghini might only bring you to like a 6. Jibo brings me to a 10 season after season.
Jibo, amazing. That's
how I feel, and I'm the only one that watches this show about Blown Away on Netflix, which is about it's the glass blowing competition.
Oh right, sure, yeah. I can
that has stakes. If someone messes up, they're getting they're getting an arm cauterized.
Yeah,
I highly recommend that show. I love that show.
So
there's a new season out.
I'll close that. Oh, do you have another rec, Jonathan, or that's your That's your
No, it's just got me thinking about stakes. You're right, because why is it that Jibo doesn't need to kill 36 people in order to keep me interested? All I have to know is this Bavois going to have the hazelnuts crushed properly? And is the Bavois going to be completed in time? And I'm wrapped. So it's
is there anything, does your heart sink? I mean, when Paul says
I need some bits.
It's raw. It's raw. If something is like your heart is in your stomach, he won't eat it because it's raw. That's awful.
Oh my gosh.
Awful.
If you can whip those enough to get enough rise in your mousse, and so your mousse is just flopped down a little bit, that's all you need. You don't have to kill 37 people, Ryan Gosling. You just have to make a decent Bavois.
That's actually the Gray Man part 2. It's just gonna do it.
It's already been greenlit for a sequel.
Oh my God! Wouldn't you love to see crossovers like that?
Yeah, just
where the characters of the Gray Man have to go
not Ryan
killing
Gosling.
each other, just win a bake-off.
Ryan Gosling just comes in. That's amazing. So my recommendations are: I watched Irma Vep on HBO Max, and that was fantastic. It's a remake. It's very meta, I guess, but I never saw any of the other pieces. But it is a remake of a 90s French film that is about a French director remaking a silent French film. And then this is from the same director, a TV show about a French director remaking his 90s film about a silent film into a streaming series. And
I just had an aneurysm.
And it's in English, and it's in English and in French. I would say about 2/3 in English, 1/3 in French with subtitles. But we grew up learning French, so it was nice to stretch my brain that way. And it's a little bit like the State in Maine, the David Mamet movie, in that it's about sets and artists and actors, and it's clearly a satire of things I don't fully understand, but I think folks with a movie making background would really get it. But the acting is just absolutely fantastic, and I'd never seen Alicia Vikander in anything before because I never got around to seeing.
So good.
And she has to play this almost like Natalie Portman type star, or maybe herself, because I guess she's a big star too. I don't know. She's amazing in it. I highly recommend this show. It's really, really cool. We saw Nope, which was good.
Was it good?
It was good. It was okay. I mean, I want to see, I think Kofi Outlaw just put out the article that said, okay, now we're going to have to do the comparison of Jordan Peele and M. Night Shyamalan's first 3 movies. And I haven't read it yet, but I definitely saw Nope. I was like, so this must be his signs. Like, it's still really good,
but he's wavering.
He's really good, but it's not what people expected, because it's not what the other 2 were. And he's definitely branching out. I mean, he's great, but the stakes of this movie are very unclear, I'll tell you that. The acting's amazing. Visually, it's really beautiful and compelling. It has some, creepy stuff in it, but ultimately it's not as terrifying as Us, not as good as Get Out. And the whole time, Allie and I were both thinking, oh, this movie's like weirdly like Jaws, without really realizing why. And now I'm seeing a whole bunch of articles comparing it to Jaws, which was really interesting. So it was cool. Jordan Peele's awesome. He's allowed to make a medium movie compared to his other 2 movies, which I think are genius. But like, it's interesting to see the Shyamalan comparison, because that definitely popped into my head. I'm like, interesting signs. This is like his alien movie. And then we talked a lot about Gray Man, and then DC's League of Super Pets was home run for a family movie. Allie and I were cackling, and the kids loved it, and it had great superhero stuff and jokes in it, and The Rock and Kevin Hart are like awesome together, and Vanessa Bayer's in it too, which is great. Okay, with that, Jonathan, where can people follow you, follow your work, all the stuff?
No, geez. Well, youtube.com Raising the Stakes is what you would Google, I suppose, to find your way to that channel. And yeah, story structure is a great passion of my life, and I tend to just keep making these videos and just being a part of that conversation, because we're all it's such a wonderful mystery to unravel what makes for good story and what doesn't make for good story. And I imagine it's a big part of what you talk about on your weekly podcast is just why did this work and why didn't this not work? We like to analyze things. And then I suppose you could find me on Twitter at Jonathan W. Stokes, if you were so inclined. I suppose if you really, really wanted to, you could find me on Instagram at InStokesgram, because I do travel a lot. I have not made it to the Canary Islands, but I've made it to some really...
You're invited anytime.
Thank you.
You're part of the family now.
So my Instagram is mostly just when I'm in a weird place. That's when I'll post to Instagram. And by weird place, it could be like I was in Sudan during the revolution.
Looks like you were also at medieval times.
I was. That is true. That counts.
Wait, what is your Instagram? Stokes?
InStokesgram. Just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it?
All right. InStokesgram.
InStokesgram. Gotcha. Yeah. Good
awesome.
Branding,
all right. And go out and buy. People should go out and buy the books. Lots of them, so we can get the movies. Becky, where can people follow you?
At Paper BK Princess on Twitter. I just got that Instagram. Got it. I just got the joke.
Yes.
I was like a beat behind there. That's really funny. I like that. Good writing. Good writing.
You're also in Barcelona. Fun. Sorry, I'm not looking at your Instagram.
Yeah. All right. Lily's just looking at Instagram. And Lily, Lily, where can people follow you?
You can follow me. I don't tweet very much, but Chi K Gomez on Twitter.
And I do all the tweeting on behalf of the family, for the family at this point. You can follow me at Pancake and the number 4 table, Pancake 4 table. You can follow all the Friday Night Movie shenanigans at Fry Night Movie. Sign up for our Almost Never newsletter at FridayNightMoviePod.com. The theme music is by What Does It Eat? And thank you to our amazing guest, Jonathan Stokes.
Thank you
for being here with us.
So much. This was so fun.
Thank you.